Hello everybody. Welcome to Structural Noetic Astrology, or SNA, on Sunday. I didn't make a recording last week because I'm pretty involved in finishing up my book, which I hope will be finished by the end of this year for early release in 2023. And as I have been writing it, I realized that one of the things which has been delaying me is an aspect of the creation process which is represented in structural noetic astrology by the 4 points in the Lunar Nodal Cross. So I thought I might talk about that a little bit today. One of the reasons that clients seek me out particularly is to find out what their particular mission or purpose is in this life, in this incarnation. And I, like many other astrologers, look at the point of the lunar nodes. That is when the orbit of the moon crosses the orbit of the sun. The intersection points are called the lunar nodes, and the one which is the ascending orbit of the moon, north, is called the northern node, and that which is descending towards the south is called the southern node. Now, most astrologies use these 2 points and treat it as an axis, and they describe the process of a sort of back and forth between going to reference to the old skills or what has been inborn, some say also accomplished in previous lives, the skills and talents which they can easily and without any effort express, which is represented by the southern node. And they take these talents and abilities and they use them to create something which is completely new, which they have never created previously. And that is represented by the northern node in sign and house. But what few astrologers pay much attention to are the 2 aspects of 90 degrees, so another axis, which is perpendicular to the axis of the southern and northern lunar nodes. And structural noetic astrology does incorporate these points in order to describe a process which is not a polarity, a going back and forth between past and future, but one which represents the total creative process. And that involves 4 steps. By adding 4 points, you can make a circle instead of a line. It shows a development in a process rather than a flipping back and forth. Although some astrologers have, of course, discussed these squares or degrees of aspects of 90 degrees to the lunar axis, lunar nodal axis, they usually describe these points as blockages, points of blockage, or some kind of trap or another area which may cause the person to lose the sense of focus, to drift away from the actual purpose, which is represented in the northern lunar node. This is true, absolutely, and structural noetic astrology describes exactly what the nature of these blocks is, but also shows how they are integral to the entire creative process. So let's begin with the most northerly point in this circle, so in the lunar orbit. And this is called the dragon in social noetic astrology. And this is the point in the orbit of the moon with relation to the sun's orbit, which is the furthermost north, and it represents an extreme. In developmental terms, it is in that point in the creative process when the new creation is completely finished. There can be nothing taken away or added to it. In other words, it is an ultimate expression in material form, and no further energy can be added to it. And this is a point which I sometimes define as a point of perfectionism in people's charts. Often this is an area where people have very high expectations for themselves. And in my particular story, this is exactly where I am now in writing my book. On the one hand, I've only got a few more sentences to finish before I've really completed it. On the other hand, I have a deep inner sense that there's a lot more that I could say, and that on some of the topics I cover, I am by no means an expert and I should research them more. In other words, I'm at that point of the dragon in which I am trying to add things to it, even though it's actually completed. And there is a tendency in the creative process, often, if one has completely realized that which is new, the new creation, to not want to let it go. If one has received recognition for it or something like that, or they've got some kind of image or popularity, it's not at all attractive to leave that position and return to the drawing board, so to say, to descend to the opposite point in which there is absolutely no form. And this is what we call the beast. At this point, the most southerly point in the lunar orbit, this is where it is an absolute expression, an extreme expression of energy, without any form, without any structure. It's that point, I say, when the artist or the creative person suddenly gets an inspiration, an idea, something just pops into one's mind, and if it is given any attention and considered longer, and this is where the idea goes to the southern lunar node, one thinks about, okay, what do I have, what am I able to do with which I can take this idea and make something new with it. So this point, the beast, is an extremely vital and extremely important point of inspiration, and actually that point where any creative process actually receives light and receives energy. So when one is at that final phase of completion at the dragon, it is important that that completion is recognized and is completely released, and the person drops back down to that state of not knowing, of not having any form, a kind of void or no man's land where the artist or the creative person waits for inspiration to come. And this, of course, can be very disconcerting because it can sometimes take quite a long time before the muse actually speaks, before that idea or inspiration actually comes. So we say in structural noetic astrology that the beast has to be tamed and the dragon has to be slayed. And these 4 points represent the total creative process. So from inspiration to the use of one's present abilities and talents to begin planning and start giving it a definite form and a shape. And then we go over to the North Node, which is the actual realization of that plan, of the inspiration in material form. In that form, we continually perfect it and refine it until it has reached its ultimate creative expression. And then we are at the dragon, at which point we have to let go and go back to the source of inspiration. So that's just something I wanted to share to you related to my own process of creating this book. If you're interested in the book, I will be posting more information about it on my website. You can find that at www.devlinderpraktijk, that's DEVLINDER, point, no, not point, praktijk, PRAKTIJK, that's all one word, sorry about that, point NL. And I've now got an English site so that if you can't read Dutch, you can, of course, click onto the English site. And I'll be adding updates on the book and the possibility to order it within the next few months. Okay, well, thanks for joining me and hope to see you again soon.